Hi, Rajan. I think you're on mute.
Hey Sujan, good to meet you.
Likewise. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. So, folks
Okay.
that are listening to us live, welcome to this edition of Value SaaS Talks. I'm very excited about today's session because I'm going to meet and speak to Sujan, who is a fellow product person, and he's the Chief Product Officer of Signeasy. He comes with a wide ranging of experience of working in different kind of product companies, enterprise, large ones, small ones, and now working with Signeasy in building a world class product. And today we'll have Sujin share some lessons about what does it take to build a visionary global product, and also some of the lessons that he's earned as he's seen his own career of becoming a chief product officer. So welcome to this live show, Sujin, once again.
Hey, thanks, Rajan. Thanks a lot. That's a wonderful introduction. Very kind of you. I think we need to hire you as our marketing manager. That's a very good positioning for us. So thanks for that. Yeah.
Sure. So let's dive in. I want to start with talking a little bit about your journey. How did you start out? Maybe you can start from the beginning of your career. How does one become a product manager, and how does one eventually land into this role of a chief product officer? We will start with that, Sujan.
Sure. Thanks. So I just want to go back a little further before my career itself. I just want to go back a couple of years back where you know I finished my undergrad here in India, and then it used to be pretty popular to go to the US to do the masters, right? So I kind of
Right.
caught onto that bandwagon and went to the US in 2000. So I had a teaching assistantship, which meant I had to take some classes there, right? I still remember some vivid memories from that one, where in some classes where I used to say things like 2 into 3, people would just give a blank stare at me or write something like no and a period, right? Which meant number to us, but it wouldn't mean anything to them. So later I learned that it actually means I should have said 2 times 3 instead of 2 into 3. So
Hmm.
I'm bringing all of this is because it's very important as a product manager or a founder or somebody who wants to be in business to understand and empathize, right? And there is no better way to build empathy um, than to go and live with them, right? There is immense amounts of learning. I don't think one would ever get that just by attending even one call every day, right? Just
That's
living
right.
with them and being amongst them is a great learning experience. Not only do you build empathy, you also learn their culture. You also learn to speak like them. You also learn to present ideas like them. How do you articulate so that it is according to their sensibilities, right? That is very important. How did it help me, right? Even after I came back to India, when I pursued my product management career, of course there is this bit of a shine for people returning from the US. At least back then, I don't think it is there anymore, right? Because we have enough product managers in the community right now. But back then, what it helped me with is people used to come to me to help them articulate in a way that their US counterparts would understand, right? So it helped me a lot. This 12 year stint I used to spend in US helped me a lot. Getting that small edge. I wouldn't say too much, but that small edge to be able to articulate in a fashion that people across the globe is able to relate to, right?
Yes.
So that way it was a wonderful journey. And the second part to this one is I started my career. This is where you wanted me to start. I started my career as an engineer, right? So I'm wired in a way that I immediately jump into solution. I'm a problem solver. I'm not a problem creator or a definer, right? That is so natural to me. So I did that for almost 10 years. And something, I don't know what, something told me that I need to become a product manager, right? Maybe it was just cool or sexy or whatever. I just decided enough of engineering. I need to transition into being a product manager. I still remember the first few years as product managers, not few months, few years, where I could not let go of this instinct of solution. I have been scolded by multiple engineering managers, engineering VPs, and even product leaders that, hey, your job is not to solution. Your job is to define the problem statement. Stop there. And then come together and solution with your engineer, solution with your designer, solution with the people who can create things. Your job is to bring the problem onto the table and start brainstorming, right? So that is a very, very important thing. I struggled early on with that, and then I kind of caught up on. The first thing that I tell to my people when I become a leader of any product organization, that is the first thing that I tell any of my product managers who transition from engineering, right? That's actually, I mean, 50% of product managers come from engineering. At least
Engineering.
50% of product managers come from engineering, right? So I keep telling them, just leave the baggage outside, come in with a mind frame that you say that, right? Empty your cup. You need to do that before you become a product manager. Why is it important? It's very important because as engineers and engineers turned into a product manager, we have this tendency to also um, uh, stop solutioning or stop thinking uh, uh, because of the limitations we know exist in the platform. So we stop challenging the engineering team. At that point, we cease to be the customer advocate, right? We don't become the champion of the customers. So we become engineering champions at that point in time, which is actually very detrimental to the product, right? we
That's right.
we need to endlessly challenge and raise the bar for the engineering teams and be the advocate of the customer. But it is so unconsciously in you that we say, okay, there is this limitation in this platform, so we cannot do this, so we are going to stop here, right? So that is one thing that I also learned along this journey, and I said, okay, no, this is becoming very detrimental to the product, so I should stop solutioning and let the engineers and the product designers do the job of solution. I can be there in the room, I can provide requirements, I can be the voice of the customer, but solutioning is not something I should be doing. So that is another learning. Then became a stage when I had to transition from being a individual contributor, as they say in the industry, right? From being an individual product manager to being a product leader. So even in the journey of a product manager, there is, like, you're a product manager, senior product manager, principal product manager. All these things happen where you start from being in reality, it is basically you are a feature product manager, and then you become a product manager who manages the complete product. But then there is another level where you are responsible for the whole product strategy of the company. It can be one product company or multiple product companies. So I had this opportunity of working for some real good product leaders. I still have my loyalties, and I owe a lot to them. One of them is David Lestrade. He used to be my mentor. He still is my mentor. He works at Citrix. Same way. Eugene, who practically taught me how to manage product portfolios. Right. I'm going to. So I was this managing this one product until then, and then he just brings me and says, "Okay, I'm going to give you 3 products. You're going to manage a portfolio of about $50 million. Good luck with it." Right. So it was hard. It was really hard. Right. Starting from, I didn't even know how to write a product strategy. I know how to write wonderfully user stories. I know to write feature spec. I know to write product spec. To some extent, take the product to market, right? Work with the marketing team, take the product to market. But then product strategy is a whole new ballgame, right? It is completely different. So I learned how to write product strategy, starting from, how do you take the vision of the management in this case, because I was working for a public company at that point in time, and then translating that into an executable product strategy. An executable product strategy is not just writing a product spec. It is about uh, finding resources. It is about scheduling. It is about deciding when the product is going to go into market. It is about, okay, if I put my money here, how am I going to take the product to market in a very, very, very crisp way, so that that's when I realized that everybody is actually watching me to tell them what needs to be done. Starting from the product team to the marketing team to the sales team to the finance team. How much money do you want? Okay, you have like 4 products. How do you want to model this? Do you want to grow the product? Do you want to sunset the product because we don't have enough resources to spend everywhere? How do you rationalize investment? So this is like a big jump in my career, right? Just being a single product manager into being a product leader who was
Leader.
managing portfolios. Right. So that was another journey, and I'm really really thankful to these two people, David and Eugene, who really practically taught me how to do this. Of course, they were really hard taskmasters. David especially was a very hard taskmaster, right? But I mean, I think that rigor really helped me grow into this product leadership role, and that is helping me now, shaping the organization, the product organization at Signeasy. So I really owe all of that to these people. Then the other dimension is, I Signeasy is my first startup, right? Until then, I've always been associated with huge public companies, right? Starting from Xerox to Oracle to EMC Squared, and relatively a smaller one is Citrix, right? The wonderful thing that happened to me at Citrix is it was a big enterprise company, but then it also had the facets of startup like execution, the way they organize themselves. Actually, the transformation happened right in front of my eyes. It used to be an enterprise company which was catering to enterprise customers, and then these people, new folks come in, new management come in, and they transform this company into becoming agile in their execution. So I learned all of this at Citrix as to how to function as a big organization, but also be agile enough. So I took a lot of those learnings, and in fact, frankly, I've adopted those learnings and frameworks at Signeasy. May it be the pod structures and how we organize as product engineering and design teams in pods to execute, to collaborate. So all of that happened at Citrix. Now, one big learning that I got is, see, oftentimes product managers in startups always think that, hey, I have to compete with the biggies in the market, right? I mean, in our case, I'm sure you're going to ask me this question: how are you going to go head on with DocuSign, right? So I myself will bring it up. How do we compete with these people, right? So one thing that I have learned living that life is, there are one or two visionaries in these organizations, and the strategy is to great extent is driven by these two or three visionaries in the company, right? And it is most often very top down driven, right? So what happens, or what tends to happen with these product managers is, even if their vision, if the vision of the product manager aligns with the vision of these big visionaries in these companies, they are still competing with 15 other ideas, which we know will work, right? It has a good product market fit. We know, we have validated, we have verified, we know we have about a laundry list of customers waiting for these things to be adopted. Yet we are competing for that. So I have been in a position where I had to wait for 6 months, 1 year, to just get investment to get something off the ground, right? So that is actually the real boon that these product managers in startups have, right? There is not many people to convince. You just go directly to the CEO or CPO and say that, hey, this is the idea. I have validated this. I have about 5 customers. Can we run with it? Right. So that kind of
Agility.
disruptive culture, agility and disruption is actually at the end of the day the winners, right? These are the people who innovate, disrupt, and then it gets adopted in the big enterprises, right? That is typically the innovation cycle that we follow. So I think we need to be very cognizant of that, and I think that is our winning currency in startups. That agility, that freedom to execute, right? That is our currency. So,
Wow.
so I think I've been talking for 15 minutes. So yeah,
No, no, this is fascinating. In fact, I'm like, boy, this is, you covered so many, like, excellent points. Some of them like really, really beautiful. And I'm like, where do I pick? Which one do I double click? I do want to sort of pick on one thing that you said, and lot of viewers that are listening to this, they may actually be thinking about joining like a product management type of an organization, or maybe they are engineering founders. They are thinking about becoming like a product founder. So
Mhm.
you talked about two things that I want to pick up, right? You said there are two important things that you learned, and you connected that with your journey of being like a grad student and having this conversation of 2 into 3. It should be 2 times 3.
Mhm.
And you talked about customer empathy. So if you think about a PM skill stack, the foundation of that would be customer empathy. Then the next layer is this problem mindset,
Correct.
right? And you talked about both, and you said, this is something that you learned through like a lot of hits and misses and trial and error. So if somebody were to learn from that experience, like how can you short circuit, like how can somebody develop the skill set of customer empathy? How can somebody develop the problem mindset? Like what are some of like maybe 2 or 3 tips that you would give people to improve their customer empathy quotient, and like do slightly better at being like problem mindset thinking as opposed to the solution mindset thinking?
Yeah, I jokingly say, don't join engineer. Don't start your career as an engineer. Right? So, 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 but besides that, I think the only way I know of to build customer empathy is to spend more time with the customers. Right? You need to follow them to their houses. You need to spend as much time as possible trying to understand their business, trying to understand their pain points. At the end of the day, what we are building is not just any product. It is a product to solve for their pain points. So unless we understand their pain points, it is impossible for us to build a successful product, right? I mean, I think million people have mentioned this before, but it is actually very easy to forget, right? It is actually very easy to
It
forget
may
when
be
we
easy to
get.
forget, but what for an engineer, what comes in the way? What in your experience came in the way? Like, are there things that engineers can do?
So
Usually,
one
we
thing that we,
focus on.
yeah. So I'll tell you what happens with when I was an engineer. We are so for us, the a cool engineer is a person who is able to write the most performant or most reliable software possible, right? But frankly, it doesn't matter. It matters at a much later stage, right? What really matters is value offering. How can we unblock a customer from him not being able to get that value? So that is the most important thing, and I think that is where the role of a product manager is very important, right? Keep on reminding the product team, and product team is about 80% engineering and 1%, I mean 10% product and 10% product design, right? Typically that is the ratio. So keep on reminding that, hey, this is the problem. Let us focus on the problem. Let us focus on the problem. We can always come back to quality. We can always come back to performance. We can always come back to. Let us try to understand. Let us validate the problem. So this is very important. As this is the very most important role as a product manager, right? Now there are few ways how we can build this empathy with engineering folks as well. So some of the things that we do at Signeasy is if the product managers attend about 10 calls in a month with the customer, we make it a point that almost every call is also attended by a designer. So there is no two thoughts about it. Every customer call, we have a product manager and a designer tag going along, right? We make sure at least one fourth of that is attended by engineers as well, right? and
Wow.
and recent developments are engineering team Shavik telling me that, hey, you should have done this much
Earlier.
earlier, right? Yeah. So bring us in. We want to hear the customers say. I mean, I was in a recent call with a healthcare customer where she was explaining how our product is being used by nurses in the field site in a home environment. So these are remote nurses going and helping elderly people, and there anything can happen. This elderly person can faint. Anything can happen at that point in time. I cannot expect the document to load 5 seconds. So for engineers, it is just a performance thing. No, it is not a performance thing. It's a matter of life or death. So these kinds of real life situations strikes them really in the place where it should, and then they start thinking about the problem in a very different way. This really happened few weeks back, and that's how I'm able to quote that so fresh out of my memory. So
That's
it's very
awesome.
important that we need to bring these engineering folks, not in every call. I mean, we should not overdo that also. I mean, a role of a product manager is also to try and minimize context switching for the creators, right? That is the primary role of a product manager. So we should try to minimize that, but at the same time, as and when it is needed, when we feel that, hey, it is important for the engineering team to know what the customers go through, we need to bring them on that call.
Right. So there is just one more thing that I will pick from what you said. You talked about two great mentors who still continue to mentor you. Product management, from my own experience, and you also alluded to this, is a skill that is learned through apprenticeship. Like, you become a
Absolutely.
good product manager when you learn it from another good product manager. So what are tips that you would suggest or offer for people to find or reach out to, or where can they find such good mentors that they can learn from?
I mean, there are so many mentors out there. The one thing that I know and I've observed and realized probably late in my career is also that uh, there are so many people out there who are willing to help. Right? I mean, there are real good product leaders that I read about. I haven't had an opportunity to directly interact with them, but I have seen so many tweets. They don't get paid. It's all because they want to leave leave a legacy, or they want to teach. It's just basically paying it forward, right? So I think for aspiring product managers, or product managers who have been on job for 1 or 2 years, who want to learn more, I think the fundamental attitude they need to develop is be shameless. I mean, not just for learning how to be a good product manager. Shamelessness is one key criterion of a product manager, in my opinion. I mean, just being able to manage stakeholders. You cannot take things too personally, right? So we have to be so focused at delivering things that we cannot just get bogged down of being taking things too personally, right? So I feel we need to really develop this attitude of learning mindset. It's okay to be stupid. It's okay to fail, right? So I mean, to be a good product manager, we have to fail a lot, right? So innovation doesn't happen without failing, right? So these are some of the attributes that I would definitely. And reach out, just go reach out and ask questions. So that's the only way I think we can become better product managers.
Got it. So I'm going to switch track a little bit now and talk about Signeasy and products there. Talk to us a little bit about what Signeasy is. Some of us might not have heard of, which is to me like little unlikely, but just in case, if someone has not heard of Signeasy, what does Signeasy do? What is the typical user that you serve, and what do you do for them? And along with that, if you can talk a little bit about the history of where you started and where you are today?
Sure. Rajan, yeah, yeah, I'll definitely talk. I mean, I can talk days about Signeasy, right? Days together about Signeasy. I'd also want you to chime in because you've been part of this journey all along. So you practically have been riding this for longer than even me, right? So you know Sunil for much longer. So let me start with the genesis, right? Signeasy actually started when Sunil was vacationing. Sunil is our CEO. He was vacationing in a nice island near Mexico, and he got a job offer, and he was not able to sign the job offer there because he couldn't find a printer or a scanner. So he just wanted to have a solution. I think that's where things all started, and then he started building this mobile app. Now, DocuSign was in existent at that point in time, right? So, but then the whole idea of Signeasy was we are not at that point in time, 10 years back when Sunil started. It is not for enterprises; it is for individuals who want to sign documents, right? So that is where it started, and frankly, we have been extremely successful and popular in both iOS and Google Android ecosystem, right? So we are practically the pet child of Apple. Um, uh, we have been in their online stores when they um, release multiple OS versions, right? So to that extent, we have been so popular in the Apple ecosystem. In fact, I think we are still the most highly rated app in their store, right? App Store. So we've been pretty successful in the mobile front. So right around 2016, we decided to evolve, right? I wouldn't say pivot, but we wanted to evolve. And then since we have established our product market fit in this consumer ecosystem, we wanted to evolve and also start targeting businesses, right? So the evolution was not a step evolution. It was a gradual evolution. We took it slow. We wanted to go after solopreneurs, people who are running very small businesses to small businesses at that point in time, because we wanted to learn from them. Even at that point in time, we were not focusing on enterprises. So this is the third wave, or where we are in the current state. We have had enough learnings. We know how businesses function, and we are in the journey where we are going up market, where we are comfortably positioning ourselves to the SMBs and mid markets. The way we define SMBs and mid markets, or the segment that we are, the ideal customer profile that we are targeting is an enterprise which will have about 50 to 500 employees. The need for converting their paper trail to digitization, right? So we in fact are moving away from calling ourselves an e-signature provider to what is called as digital transaction management. We want to be everywhere where we think there are documents, right? We want to go after every document in the company. We don't want to limit ourselves to just external contracts or agreements where a signature is needed. We also want to focus in internal approval processes where there is a need for non-repudiation. Non-repudiation is basically uh, a dimension or an attribute where it cannot be refuted, right? Any document with approval which cannot be refuted. You need to be able to provide an audit trail and so on and so forth, right? If there is a need for non-repudiation, we want to be there. So all internal, external workflows where this exists, or there is a need for this, we want to be there. Now, we don't want to. I said we want to move away from e-signature to the DTM, right? E-signature is basically execution. You just take a document and sign, right? But DTM consists of three major areas, or three. It's a life cycle, if you will. It's a life cycle with three different stages, right? There is a preparation and creation of these documents, right? And then there is workflows and collaboration, where you just go back and forth. Even if you take a rental agreement, you don't sign it immediately. You probably take it back to your homeowner, and then there's a change in terms, or all of that happens. None of us signed the document in the first go. So right now, what is happening is all of that happens outside the system, right? Through emails or phone calls or whatnot, right? So what happens is there is no track of what went into the negotiation. So we want to bring all of that into the trail of the paper trail, if you will, right? So that is the value add that we want to give to our customers. So that is the workflows and collaboration bit. And lastly, the most important part, the money part, is archival and automation. And I want to underline the word automation, right? This is very important for small and medium businesses, because the small and medium businesses are still transitioning. They don't want to go full blow into the digitization world, because they cannot transform everything in their business, right? They are used to working in a certain way. They don't want to just stop everything, build an ERP solution, or implement a BPM solution for how to do business. They need to make sure that they have business continuity. So what we hear again and again from our customers is, can you help us automate our workflows in a way that we have been doing it, but we want to get there? Is there a transitionary phase that you can offer us, right? And that is where Signeasy is extremely popular. If you look at most of our big customers, it is because they want to automate, but they don't want to go full on into this automation mode with BPM solutions and things like that. So this automation, where anyway you're doing data capture on this document, how can we digitize this data capture and then use that for downstream automation, right? How can we enable that with a data platform? How can we enable that for reports building or any kind of dashboard development and things like that, right? So this is the three different stages of this life cycle, document life cycle. And then once this is done, you always have a renewal, where the creation process happens, and then the workflow happens. And so our focus area is moving or evolving just from being a e-signature provider into a DTM platform. Frankly, we have been in this journey for almost 3-4 years. It's a reasonably well-built DTM platform already, because if you look at the creation process, we have been integrating where documents get created, which is Google and Microsoft, right? These are the primary areas where the documents get created, and we are right there. Or if somebody wants to be in Signeasy, we can just take them into Google, just import a document, all of that. So we are right where these gets created, right, where the documents are created. We are very clear that we are not going to replicate that. We are not going to be able to do that. So we want to be smart and say that, okay, we know that 99% of the companies use either Google or Microsoft for their productivity applications, Microsoft Office or Google Workspace. So we just want to be close to them and leverage their capabilities there. Then workflow and collaboration has been our bread and butter for a very long time. We are making more and more investment in that area. We are making investments like multiplier features, like bulk offerings and bulk transaction management and things like that. That has been our recent investment. So we are focusing more and more in that area. And then we are also started investing in downstream automation. How do we practically get value out of the data that we are already collecting? So we recently built our reports for our customers. So we are going to go more and more in the direction of archival and automation. So this builds this whole ecosystem. Now, once we have data, once we know how to read, if the data is in a readable format, then that is when the cool things start. Like, how can we build an AI engine on top of it? Do we want to start thinking about, hey, this contract is going to come to a renewal in this many months. Can we do anything intelligent on that? Or this contract has PII information. You probably want to redact that information. So these are some of the things that we can start thinking about when we know that we have this data, readable data, right? Mission readable data. So it's very important that we are compliant. We cannot read, it's not human readable, but we want to be able to have an intelligent layer on top of it to be able to mission readable, and then build all these capabilities on top.
Correct. So what I'm hearing from you is that it started with solving for a pain point, personal pain point, then like for more people like that. But the last 3-4 years has been a journey of saying, okay, so that is like a solved problem, but that needs to be done in the context of a small and a medium-sized business. But for
Right.
them, it is not that e-signature alone, which is just the last step. But it is like two steps, two jobs before and two jobs after. And we think about it in an entire life cycle. That is the focus area. That is what you are trying to bring forward as the most important value proposition for this. You already talked about from a product perspective, saying, look, you need to have great customer empathy. You
Mhm.
also need to have like a problem mindset, and that is the most foundational element for building great products, great loved products, right? And especially from a cultural context, you said you need to have the understanding of the cultural nuance. So when you are building from India and doing a global product, immersing yourself into the customer conversation, not only just you, the product team, but also the engineering team is important. But what else is needed? What is the role of design in this, Sujan? Like, what else is making your product the most loved product and most celebrated product? So if you ask me, like you asked me to chime in on hey, I know about Signeasy. I've known Sunil since 2011 when he was a product manager in ClearTrip, another great product and design experience company, right? So along with this, there is Apple kudos, there is Google Android. I know Signeasy has been featured in a movie, right? Literally,
Yeah.
I can't think of I can't think of a product that is built from India which has had like so much of like kudos from how well built, how nicely designed this particular product is, right? And Apple giving you that credit, like you said, you're like the pet child. So what else goes into building this great loved product from a global perspective?
Yeah, so our design team is actually handpicked and crafted from day one, right? I mean, at Signeasy, design is extremely important. We have a group of great designers, starting from Sanjay, and his team. He's so passionate about design. He's so passionate about mentoring his team. He's so passionate about. I mean, to him, design does not just stop with product, right? He's not a person who says that, okay, this is product design, I'm a product designer, or my charter ends with product. We have had fights where he says, hey, you need to think of design holistically. You have to think about brand design, you need to think of organizational design, we need to think about hiring plans. This is how, when somebody walks into the door as a new person, they need to have design sensibilities. They it is not mandatory that they have an eye for design, but we need to make sure that in the first 30 days they develop that eye for design, right? They need to have sensibilities to write good copy, they need to have sensibilities to see where the anchoring points are. He is extremely particular about all these things. So I must say that I'm really thankful to have a partner like Sanjay in the design organization. So beyond that, like I said, right, we have tried and been to a very great extent successful, where product managers don't write product specs, right? We write problem statements, and then we have built this organizational structure of pods, R&D pods, where we want all three people to come together and solution, right? So like, so multiple things. One is we don't solution. Two is we have designers with us when we have conversations with our customers, so we know that the designers have that empathy from our customers. Three is designers freely interact with engineers, so there is no liaisoning of product manager who so they know each other's constraints, they also know each other's vision, right? So it's very important that we are as a leader. I think that is my main goal and purpose, is to create an organizational structure, create an environment where they are able to solution on their own, and just get out of their way, right? So, but rest of it, I just think I want to thank Sanjay here immensely to build that culture.
Right. So, Sujan, looks like I can spend another 2 hours asking you a lot more questions, and we've barely even scratched the surface about like what are lessons that others can take for building a great global love product. But I'm gonna stop here, given we have time constraints. But before I wrap up, I want to ask you: was there a question that I think you think I should have asked? And if you want to sort of just comment on that, and then with that we can
Yes.
wrap up.
Hey, thanks, Rajan. I was itching to talk about our remote setup here, right? And what Sunil has done, and
You guys became remote way before it was cool, right?
exactly, exactly. So I just want to actually congratulate Sunil on setting this up, and I also want to recognize and acknowledge the amount of work or confidence Shavik and Shravan has provided, right? Practically, if in 2020, it was 80% an engineering organization. If not for a partner like Shavik, it would have been a nightmare for Sunil to run this organization sitting in Mexico. So I really want to recognize his efforts, Shavik's effort, and also Shravan's effort to be able to keep this team together as a HR partner, right? So this is phenomenal for us being a remote first organization. I also want to thank all the other leaders, right? Samir and Abish, who are sitting in various different parts of the world. Abish is sitting in Mexico, Samir is sitting in Bangalore, and most of Samir's organization is in Delhi actually. But we are still able to make those numbers. He's able to still lead the team and uh, um, make those sales commits for us. So it's just been a wonderful journey for all of us. So I really want to thank all of my partners in the leadership team, especially Sunil, to have trust in us. And one really great character of Sunil is his sincerity to his people, right? More than anything else, it is his sincerity that he really goes out to help people out. So it may be an employee who just joined 30 days, or may it be a person who has been there in the system for 6 months. So this is the greatest quality that Sunil has, that actually has kept the team together.
Awesome. And it looks like, it is that same design mindset in
Yeah.
org design that was followed like long ago that allowed you to design a remote organization way before it was needed as mandated by COVID. So thank you, Sujan. And like I said, maybe we could like, do another 2 or 3 sessions on just talking about like, questions that we left out today. But thank you for sharing those wonderful insights. There are multiple people that are putting on chat saying these were excellent insights. So thank you once again for sharing those.
Hey, thanks, Rajan. Thanks for having me. It was a wonderful session. Thank you.
Okay. All right, folks, we'll sign off now and we'll meet you in another Valley SaaS talk. Bye bye.